Okay, I was thinking about mentioning this. I didn't want to type it up, it's pretty long, but it kind of relates to COVID-19. I remember hearing this lecture a long time ago. I forgot who said it, so I can't really share the video, but it was something about the trust that we put in God has a lot to do with the results and stuff like this. For example, I'll try to give three examples. One example is Khalid bin Walid. He was a great companion, a Sahaba of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He was one of the warriors, great warrior leaders of that time, a war hero and stuff. But there was a story which happened where there was like a rare poison and rare treasures and stuff that was found, and somebody said that anybody that drinks this poison will die automatically. But he said that life and death is in the hands of Allah, and he said a dua, a supplication, and he drank the poison and he survived. But that's not to say that we should drink poison, but the moral of that story is because his trust in God was so much that he knew that cause and effect is only based on God. You know, God controls the cause and effect. So he trusted God. His trust, he tied it with God and not the cause and effect. And that was the result. He survived. And these are authentic stories. There's evidence and a chain of narrations for them. That's one example. I'm gonna correlate this after I'm done. The second example I want to give is, I remember there was a hadith. These are from, I think, Sahih Bukhari. I'm gonna put the evidence after the video. It was something about, I'll just give the summary of it. A group of companions went to, they were traveling, and I think they seen one group of people, and from what I remember, don't quote me on it, they seen a tribe or something, non-Muslim tribe, and I think they were asking them if they can stay there, and they said no, or something like that, and then they left and stayed at a different part of the area. And later on, one of those tribe members, I think the leader of that tribe, got bit by a scorpion or a snake, something like that, a poisonous one. And then what happened was, those non-Muslims from that tribe went, and they couldn't figure out what they could do, because I guess the leader was dying or something like that from that bite, from that poisonous bite. So they said, one of them, hey, let's go find those people that traveled around here. Maybe they'll know something that we don't. So they grabbed the Sahabas, or the companions, and the companions came, and one of the companions, I forget his name, he recited Surah Al-Fatiha, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. He said it completely, and then on that mark where he got bit, he spit on it, or he blew on it, one of the two. And next thing you know, the poisonous bite is start healing, and the guy got better. So that's a very important story, because of the fact that, first of all, this guy was not even a Muslim, and he got cured because the Sahaba, the companion that recited Al-Fatiha, maybe his iman was very strong, but that goes to show that Al-Fatiha is a cure, and it can cure not just us Muslims but non-Muslims. I mean, it might depend on the iman that you recite it with and how much trust you got in God, but these are authentic hadiths. Sometimes we think like we probably doubt it, like, man, is Al-Fatiha and stuff gonna work? But since we see this as evidence, like from hadith, so we know it's accurate. And then later they got like at that time some goats and stuff like that for qurbani to eat and stuff. I think they gave them some of that as like a you know, they're to be thankful, something like that, and they brought it back to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, you know, he smiled, and I think he took some of the qurbani, something like that. I'm gonna put a quote on it. And the third One example I want to give was about Ibrahim alayhi salam, Prophet Abraham. When he was thrown into the fire by his enemies, he trusted God. I think he said, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. I place my trust in God, or something similar to that dua. Prophet Abraham trusted God so much. He was, I think they say, the friend of Allah, the Khalil of Allah. So his trust was so strong. At one point, I think one of the angels came, probably Angel Jibreel, and asked him something like if he needs help out of this, and I think he replied, Allah is sufficient for me. He doesn't need the angel's help. He trusts Allah, like Allah to directly help him. So imagine if we were in that situation and an angel came to help us, all of us would say, yeah, help me for sure. But he declined the help of the angel, and he trusted God that much that God came through, because his trust, his tawakkul, they call it, was so strong in Allah that Allah had changed the effect of that fire, and he made it cool. Imagine that, because Allah again is in control of the cause and effect. So he made that fire cool instead of hot, and he was comfortable. Ibrahim alayhi salam was comfortable in a fire. Imagine that. Later on in his life, I believe someone asked him what was a good time in your life when you felt comfortable or something like that. And I think he replied, when he was in that fire. So imagine how comfortable that God made that fire for him, because he's in control of the cause and effect. You know what? Now come to think of it, let me just add this other example, because it just came to my mind. About Dajjal, we know at the end of times Dajjal is going to come. It's written in the hadith and stuff that Dajjal will come, and it's mentioned something about his fire. He's going to have a paradise and a fire. His fire will be paradise, and his paradise will be like a hell, something like that. It's the opposite. So if somebody, they said, I think the guy with one of the strongest iman at that time, he jumps in the fire, or he throws them in the fire, but that's really paradise. So if you think about it, why are those different? Is because I would think, Allah knows best, that it's because Allah controls the cause and effect. So Allah made the fire into the paradise and the paradise into the hell. So I mean, Allah knows best if I'm making any mistakes here, but the point I'm trying to make is, since we see 4 examples, these are not just examples that we hear from nobodies and like a Bangladesh story that could be fake. These are actual evidences. So since we hear this and we know these are facts, that goes to show that if we could really place our trust in God, then imagine God can do the same thing for us. Inshallah, God can do this for us. In the lecture that I heard, he did mention something else that kind of seemed very important in my head. He said, God, this world is a cause and effect world. God, if you depend on medicine, for instance, all the time, and your trust in God is not as much, then God will tie you with the medicine. Like, you will basically depend on the medicine. And then if you tie yourself with God, you trust God more than the means, basically, then God ties you with him. So, you do, like, for example, how the examples I mentioned, God will basically replace the means with his trust with him, and he'll take care of you. But that's what he said in the example. But that's not for me to say. I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't take the means. Obviously, if we need to take medicine, we take the medicine and we place our trust in God. But I'm just saying, if we can make our trust in God stronger than the means, then maybe it's going to have a better effect on us, and God will help us directly, inshallah. But again, I'm saying this again, that I'm not here trying to say don't take the means, don't take the medicine, because I will take the medicine as well. But I'm just saying, I think there are certain people in this world that their level of trust in God is so uh, deep that they can get by without the means. I've heard stories, I don't know how accurate they are, in Bangladesh. Like people, for instance, they're hungry. Obviously, they need food to get by. That's the means. But there's like Allah, their trust in Allah is so deep, they'll find a way to eat. It's like, the food would just come somehow. I'm not saying it just like appears. It's like their trust is deep. They don't even worry about the food. It just comes, stuff like that. So that's what I'm saying. The trust, if we can build it. So that, relating it to COVID. Now, if we think about it, COVID-19, it is dangerous and it has a lot of negative things, obviously, to it. But if we can remember that cause and effect is from Allah, all of this end is from Allah. So COVID-19, if we trust God in the du'as we recite for Allah to protect us so much, we trust in God that so much that even if we got COVID, Allah will probably take care of it. If we trust God, we probably would just, like, Allah will keep us away from this sickness if we trust Him so much, and make these du'as and we believe it. I'm speaking of myself first. And then, if we did get COVID, if we get the symptoms and stuff like that, and we trust God, or if we didn't get it and we ask for protection from it and we trust God like that, He will, inshallah, protect us. And if we do get it, and if we trust God similarly, maybe He will do for us what He did for Khalid bin Walid, how the poison, it didn't faze him. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe it won't faze us. So this is, I believe, a very important element in sicknesses and all this stuff. If we can have that trust and belief in God like that, then inshallah, God will take care of us. This is obviously some next level trusting God, like, so He can tie us with Him. And again, I'm not saying don't take the means. I want to hammer that point in, because I don't want somebody commenting saying, so what are you saying, don't take the means? No, I'm saying take the means, because there is another hadith, I believe, it says something like, tie your camel and put your trust in God. So we should take the means and we should trust in God. But there are certain individuals like Khalid bin Walid, like that Sahaba that I mentioned, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Look how deep their level was. That it's like a miracle that Allah performed for them, because their trust is so deep. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, you can argue that he was a prophet, so it's like a miracle. But what about Khalid bin Walid? He was a regular human being. I mean, he was not a prophet, he was a Sahaba. And the other Sahaba that said Al-Fatiha, he was a regular human being. So that goes to show other individuals can reach that level if our trust is there. But if I made any mistakes, if anybody knows, if you listen to it, just let me know. And God knows best. If I've made any mistakes, may He forgive me. And I'm not like nowhere near that level. I'm just trying to share what I learned, so that way, in case nobody knew this, because that had an effect on me many years ago when I heard that lecture, but I can't find it now, so I thought I'd just share it. And I'm just a struggling sinner, like I say all the time, so I'm not trying to preach something that I myself am not. I'm not trying to fall into hypocrisy, riyah. I'm just sharing what could be of benefit that helped me out, thinking about that. It's like one time I remember one time I dropped my food on the ground, and I was gonna say, you know what, should I just throw it away or should I eat it? And then I remembered about Khalid bin Walid, like, this thing can't get me sick unless Allah allows it to, so I said Bismillah and I ate it. I mean, that's something small, but I'm just giving an example, because I also heard, I don't know how accurate this one is, maybe one of you guys know, but the food, when you digest it, it basically asks Allah if it should be a means to make this person sick or not, or if it should be a healthy, beneficial food. I think the food or the drinks and stuff like that, even the medicine and stuff, asks Allah for Allah's permission, whether it should be a means of good or harm, something like that. Like I said, I don't know if that one is 100% accurate, but something I heard.